What happens when you let enfant terrible, now just terrible, Daniel Nardicio off his leash to say and do whatever he wants? The man who has offended everyone is back.
Along with my brother from another mother, Adam Klesch, we're back with our latest creation, Trigger Warning, a podcast that is not for the faint of heart.
Prepare to be offended, enlightened, and highly entertained.
Trigger Warning is not a safe space podcast, but answers the questions no one wants to ask. Serves steep in vodka and a dash of bitter.
Each week, we'll bring you the highest and lowest in NYC nightlife.
So buckle up. You've been warned.
This is Adam Meathammer Klesch again, and while we love to bring you new episodes with new personalities every week, we're going to bring you part 2 of our interview with Coco Peru because we just couldn't, in all consciousness, bring it to one episode. The editing just wasn't going to happen. It was just such a lovely moment. So I hope you listened to the first part of this. And now at Trigger Warning, we bring you part 2 of Coco Peru.
So, also, you were in Mid-Century Modern in the pilot, and your name is Coco. And did you realize this, that the Golden Girls pilot?
Yes, I did realize
also Coco.
that, yeah. Well, I had written to Max Muchnick, who was one of the creators of Will and Grace, and I said, you know, Max, you loved me so much when I did Will and Grace. I was in your top 10 or top 5 of special guests that you and the rest of the cast loved,
Right.
because I was easy to work with.
Right.
And also knew one of the things on sitcoms, and that I learned this, is that you're not the star.
Right.
And you have to understand that, and you have to say your lines. And even though I might think I can make this funnier, you don't go there.
Right.
You know? And in fact, I would say lines between Sean and myself, and Sean would be like, oh my God, you have to do that. And I would say, no, Sean, I want to be invited back.
Oh, that's so smart. But what I loved about your character is your character actually, while it was tertiary in the sense that it wasn't a main character, of course, you ended up owning the bar.
Yeah.
You ended up with a happy storyline.
Yeah.
You know?
And I will say, the first time I did the show many years ago, the first run of Will and Grace, when I went, it was weird because Hollywood and that whole system, drag, they didn't get it. And even people on the show, it was like they just weren't, they were professional, but not warm and fun.
Right.
And I'm used to being around people like when there's a drag queen present, we're having a great time. And so it was a very strange experience for me. So when I went back this time, 20-something years later, all that had disappeared. And everybody was excited, and they made a really big deal about me being on the show. And it just was such a good experience for me to be treated that way. And so I wrote to Max, and I said, you loved me so much. If you're ever doing something else, write me a role.
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things I never learned was to ask for things. I was a solo performer doing drag, and you just know nobody's going to do anything for you. Right. You have to do it yourself.
Yeah.
And so I wrote to him, and he did. They wrote me one line in the original, in that script. And then when I showed up for the thing, the first rehearsal, I had many lines, and they had written scenes, and there were references to Trick even.
Oh, really?
And then as we started to rehearse it, my part got smaller and smaller because they had overwritten the show. And of course, they're going to cut.
Right.
And then by the time we filmed it, I had 2 lines. And then by the time they showed it to the first audience, like a preview, I had 1 line. And by the time it went to air, I'm sitting in the background through a window.
But I will say this about the show. It didn't get its proper due. I thought it was a great show.
Oh, okay. Well, I didn't.
I'm not saying that episode. I'm just saying in general.
No, but
show.
I didn't feel badly that I had been cut because I had a great time working on it.
Right.
Everybody was super sweet, and I got paid, and I had fun. So, and I know that's the nature of the business.
Everyone has stories about being on the cutting room
floor. I did not
floor.
take it personally at all. The only thing I was upset was that they flashed my name at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Coco Peru, and people are then writing me. We didn't see
Girl,
you.
I missed you.
Exactly, and I'm having to write all these people back. Look through the window of the hotel. You'll see that wig you mentioned. That's so iconic.
That silhouette.
And yet you missed it.
That's
I
very
love
funny.
it.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed this show. I mean, it's one of those things that we're a similar age, where I never dreamed in my life that these things would be available. I never thought as a 20-year-old gay kid that a drag would be so ubiquitous,
Right.
but that there would be shows about us that are making really inside jokes about gay sex. I mean, that show had a lot of really inside.
I mean, when I was a 14-year-old, well, I was never a closet case. That's not fair. I had yet to come out watching Trick. If you asked me, would I be in a flannel-covered hotel room in Vermont speaking to Coco Peru, that was never a thing for me.
Yeah, exactly.
That was
And,
never ever a thing.
Heated rivalry. We were talking about it this morning. I don't know if you've seen it, but like the fact that they're playing it in sports bars. I don't know. I tend to be a little bit Pollyannish about the way things are going. 100%. The country's going to shit in terms of Trump and MAGA. They're just fucking idiots.
Yeah, but gay's okay.
Actually, we're doing pretty well in terms of like public perception, and the fact that Heated Rivalry has now become like such a big hit amongst straight people.
Well, and we could be a lot worse, right? Like we could be in a place where everyone in the country doesn't think what's going on is terribly wrong. Like we're in a terrible place, but I would say the majority of the world, and at least 51% or more of the country, is like, this madman's off his leash, We could be in a place of complacency like 1939.
Yeah, we just have to hope that we can get to the midterms, and then we just get him out.
But that's enough darkness.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I wanted.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that talking about being Pollyannish, when I created Coco, that was my mission. I thought, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to make people have to listen to me, and I'm not going to do it only as a gay man. I'm going to dress up in drag and make it even more challenging for them to relate to me. And once they relate to me as an openly gay man who then chooses to wear dresses and isn't pretending to be a woman, if they can relate to my story and find some connection, that's going to open their mind.
Yeah.
And so that was my goal, was that we have to somehow bridge that gap. And of course, early on, my show was mostly for a queer audience. But slowly but surely, people started bringing their parents or a sibling.
Right.
I got a lot of amazing reviews in the mainstream press when I first started. So those more artistic sort of folks who were looking for something different that were straight would come see my show. And I'm not saying I made such a big difference, but I do feel as a collective community, we all are responsible for creating the change we want.
Right.
And that was my goal early on. And I do feel like I was a little part of that change happening.
You're in that pantheon of performers that I consider to be trailblazers that have sort of pushed culture forward.
And there were people that, were totally against me doing what I did. And even when I first started, there were people in our own community that were so dismissive to me.
Right.
Really?
Oh, terrible.
I
I would look at them and just think, someday you're going to apologize to me. And I didn't take it in. I was on such a mission back then to create change.
Yeah.
And I wanted to be an activist, and I had gone to an ACT UP meeting, and I was too immature, too young to take on that rage.
Yeah.
Right.
Those men and women were feeling in that room.
Yeah.
And I left there devastated, realizing I'm not going back.
Yeah.
And I felt badly about that, but I knew I couldn't take it on. But it spurred me to think, what can I do? And I always had a knack for storytelling. And I also knew that in college, when I was there for those 4 years, when I showed up, I was the faggot that's name was scrawled on the bathroom walls with nasty messages.
Atta girl.
And by the time I left, they all loved me.
Yeah, that's what it's about, right?
Because they got to know me as a person. They heard my story. They knew my struggle.
Humanity.
And I learned something from that experience. It's the story
Yeah.
Everybody's got a story, and when you take the time to share or you take the time to listen, that's a big way of creating change.
Well, and it's the age old of, people are afraid of what they don't know, right?
Right.
And
heated rivalry, for example, it's storytelling.
absolutely.
Whether it's a story about hockey players who care, who
And you
would
listen
ever
to
think
these-
of that,
Right.
And yet it's resonated with people, and
you listen to these heterosexual guys who have hockey podcasts or shows or whatnot,
and they're talking
and they're
about
talking
it.
about
Oh, wow.
they're talking about love. They're
Well,
talking about
it's-
emotion, and
yeah.
it's just
Yeah, it's
gives
really
me
good.
faith that
Yeah,
there's human
totally.
beings out there.
Yeah, I'm glad you have faith, because I've been feeling really down lately and thinking I'm at the end of my career and this is the crap we have to deal with again. I just felt like but I do think things are better from when I was younger.
Much.
The younger kids aren't dealing with a lot of they still have their challenges, of course.
Yeah.
But I do. To see young people come out and they're still in grammar school, I didn't come out till I
Going to
think I
proms.
was 22 or something.
Going to the proms and they're gay and they're
it's
that wasn't
amazing.
even an option.
It was an option. Or to think of what's on television.
Or
and
just the fact
how
that-
we searched for it. when
Yeah,
we were
I literally, a 16-year-old gay kid can within seconds join Facebook groups, Instagram. Well, they wouldn't even be on Facebook, but you know what I mean? There's so many things where they can feel. I was just watching Billy Crystal and George Michael. Those are the two. I could see George Michael was gay in the Wham video, and Billy Crystal was a gay character on Soap. That was it.
Yeah.
And he was a tragic character. And at least George Michael, I thought, okay, well, at least she's jubilant.
Yeah.
Right.
There was a little bit of joy there.
I mean, for me, I love to say this, and for me, it was Trick. I was
Really?
absolutely, yeah. No, and I'm being dead serious because
He was very excited about this interview.
I was in Cleveland, Ohio. I was living on my own. I moved out when I was 15 because of coming out, and I was working the midnight shift at Hollywood Video, and I thought DVD's never going to take over, but I've got to stock this wall anyways. And I had a wonderful guy named Paul, who was the manager there, who was, honey, she was gayer than a peach tree in Ohio, but he was a wonderful person, and he would be like, you got to watch this. You got to watch this. You got to watch this. And he handed me Trick, and I always knew I was going to leave Cleveland at some point, and I was going to go to New York. And I saw that movie, and I just thought... And any other time you had ever seen a drag queen in life, in film, whatever, it was so campy, right? And not to shower you with praise, but your character was real. You were you took a sexy guy home and he fucking hurt you, and you were warning the next gay about it, and you were carrying this little rage. It was just so, and I was like, oh my God, there's a whole world. Look, they're in a club full of people, and nobody was getting called a faggot. And, Christian Campbell was he was a songwriter, and he wanted to do musical theater, and a hot guy liked him, and he had his crazy girlfriend. And I thought, oh, it does get better. This was before the Dan Savage. I was literally able to watch Trick and be
I'm so happy to hear you say that. And I love, people always say to me, you must get tired of hearing this, and then they'll quote me from the movie. But I never get tired of hearing these stories, because when I was young and I rented gay movies, they were all tragedies.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
And
Everyone was
but
dying.
still they had value to me.
Yeah.
Right.
And I remember thinking, as a young gay kid watching those videos, someday I hope I get to be in a gay movie, but it's not a tragedy.
yeah, it's a love story. It's a comedy.
And I had forgotten that, right?
Yeah.
So we do Trick, and I was seeing it for the first time at Sundance, and when it was over and I saw the credits roll, I started crying because I had that memory. And I said, oh my God, I'm in a gay movie, and it's not a tragedy.
Yeah.
And I will say this, when the movie came out, I don't think it got the support from the gay press that it should have gotten.
No, not at all.
We were referred to as stereotypes and whatnot. And the guy who played Steve, who played the very flamboyant musical guy,
Yeah.
he that is him.
Oh no, I went and saw his one man show. I
Yeah.
took I have gay dads. I went and took them. And
So
it
they
was
were like, to refer
Como
to
te
him as
gusta
a
mi
stereo-
pinga.
Exactly. It's like he was playing himself.
Yeah.
And the movie did have value for that reason. It was just about two guys looking to have a place for sex. It wasn't about coming out. It wasn't about illness. There was no, death. It was just, it felt like a New York moment.
Absolutely. And then that became like my New York moment where it was like, I can remember not being able to go to like the studio I was sharing with my best friend, and a guy I wanted to fuck was living with his mom.
Yeah.
Like,
and just the fact that, Christian Campbell's character was living with the straight guy. And that wasn't the issue for them. The issue was who's going to be able to use the apartment for sex. Let's flip a coin. To me, it was an important movie for that time for that reason.
And I loved your acting, and you were so genuine, and it was so real. And I can remember my boyfriend at the time, long exes, but now we're friends, saying to me, "Oh, Coco Peru's coming out with another movie," and I went through the roof. It was Girls Will Be Girls. And it wasn't, "Oh, hey, we should go see this Girls Will Be Girls. It's a gay film." It was, Coco Peru's got a new movie. And I was like, we're going now.
Wow. You were the two that went to see it.
It was my first experience with a micro penis.
It was a tough time, though. I mean, gay films have always had not always, but they had a really tough time around that period, because unless they were mainstream, like My Beautiful Laundrette.
Yeah.
That was, I think, my first gay movie. Mm-hmm. Well, I shouldn't say that. I think Victoria was my first gay movie, which was a great first gay movie.
I agree. It's
and I don't think it gets recognized as a queer film because it was so
well done.
What was overshadowed by
well
Julie
Julie
Andrews.
Famous people. It was meant for a wider audience.
Right.
And mainstream is the word I was looking for. But
well, and it had a budget. I learned hard after Trick that not
that.
all gay films were going to be good.
And I saw that in the movies as a teenager, and I was both titillated, couldn't wait to buy the album, on vinyl, but gay movies, that was a different, and so My Beautiful Laundrette was my first one. I remember my father walked in when I was watching it.
Were you wearing your mother's camisole?
I froze. I just froze. And he's watching the television, and he looked at me. He said, "I know why you're watching this." And then that was it.
That's all he said?
And there was no more conversation
Was
around that.
Was it a shameful moment, or was it an excitement?
I think my father was just letting me know it's okay, but we didn't know how to talk about it at that point.
There weren't the words
for it. When I
right?
did come out, my parents were, I was lucky. My parents had no problem. And when I decided to do Coco, they thought it was funny. They
that's
100%
wonderful. That's
supported
wonderful.
me. They sat in the front when I did my first show because they thought people were going to throw tomatoes.
Oh my God.
They wanted to protect me.
Oh, and then I got to have a full circle moment because when I moved to Los Angeles, I got to meet Alan Konigsberg, who was working with Jim Fall, and they were going to do Trick 2. And then they ended up with like some writer's copyright issues. I didn't realize he co-wrote with somebody else Trick, and so there was some royalty bullshit. But I was going to play the guy that Christian ended up with after all, like married and moved out of New York and stuff like this.
Oh, how funny.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to be in the movie and I get to meet Coco. I was like losing my shit. But
it's so funny.
Instead, we're in a flannel covered room in Vermont and I'm meeting Coco, which is just as good.
So the question I have for you is this: if life's sort of a hike and you made it to this certain plateau, and I know for a few years that you've been toying with the idea of kind of, putting the wig on the shelf and retiring as much as you can. And I know you seem smart, like Sherry, someone who saved well and invested whatever. There's certain queens you can just tell that they've made good decisions, Sherry, Jackie, yourself, and other ones that didn't. And I won't say, but my point is,
but we know them.
When you were talking about you got to this point, you had this hunger when you were younger about making a statement and blah, blah, blah. Do you have a hunger for anything forward, or is it, I just want to retire and move to Spain?
I don't have the hunger anymore.
For any of it?
I would like some change. And
what does change look like?
Retirement.
Yeah.
Like change for you personally, not like I want to change the world.
Oh, no, I don't. I just feel like personally, the travel is difficult. I could go on and on about all the reasons, but I don't, when you start saying all those reasons, then you just sound bitter. And I'm so grateful that for 30 years I've had a career doing something. People, when I first told them my idea that I'm going to be a drag queen that talks.
Yeah.
Back in the day,
it's just
drag
lip
queens
syncing.
lip-synced. Unless you were like a Charles Busch who was writing full-on plays.
Right.
But and people couldn't imagine what I had in mind. and that I wanted to do both storytelling, but with a mix of activism and sing, and so I have so much to be grateful for. But I feel like it's time to start thinking about that and letting Coco, if someone wants to pay me a lot of money to do something, or I feel like it's a really good cause, I can yank her back out. But it's time for the new generation to sort of take over.
Yeah.
And
But I mean, is that like lying on a lanai in the sun reading a book every day? Is it opening a little cafe in Spain? What does retirement look like? I can't imagine you doing nothing.
I think I would still write.
Okay.
And I think I have ideas, but I wouldn't be opposed to just being able to do some traveling with my husband.
Nice.
And doing that. And having that for myself, and going to see other people's shows,
Right.
and celebrating them, and just sort of not needing the spotlight anymore.
I always think of, because, I'm slowly in the position where I'm segueing out of nightlife, because as I say, no one wants to see the 60-year-old standing at the door of an underwear party. And I'm not saying that when people go, oh, come on, but I'm like, no, I'm not putting myself down.
I'm just glad you caught on. No one wanted to see a 50-year-old.
When I was 20, I was like, it was fun for years to be there and greeting people. But now it's time for me to do something else. So I am. But the point is, I always think of Lotus Weinstock, who is Lenny Bruce's girlfriend and comedian in her own right. And she said, I used to want to change the world, and now I just want to leave the room with a little bit of dignity. And when I say that to people, they think that I'm putting myself down in some way for wanting to leave nightlife. Like I'm saying, I'm too old for nightlife, because there are plenty of people who still do it. And it's like, no, I just know that my time is up, and there are other people nipping at my heels that want it way more than I do. And I have a few things that pay me well that I do still, but I want to leave the room with a little bit of dignity.
And isn't it
like
better?
I don't want to have to be handing out flyers at 62. I'm going to be 60 next year, and like handing out flyers to get people to come to my shows.
That's also, I think, the way I feel. And there's been a few experience. I work very, very hard on writing my shows and paying all this money to make tracks, and you get the costume made and whatnot. And then you have to go and perform in a place where all they care about is the drink sales, and, or they don't, what do you mean you didn't bring in enough seats? I mean, you knew the show sold out 300 people, and you have 50 seats, all that kind of stuff is exhausting. And when you're hungry as a young person, you deal with it.
You can take it in stride.
Yes. But when you're 60 years old and you think, God, I'm still dealing with this, it starts to feel, and so that's when you start to sound bitter. And I don't want to sound that way. Yeah. But I just hope people can understand when they're going, you can't retire. They understand that, I want to leave the room, like you said, with a little bit of dignity.
And, and there's nothing to be said. There's nothing wrong with looking and saying, I'm going to come back once a year and do a big show, and you call me and say, help, let's put on a big show. Yeah. I tell Dina, when I first approached Dina years ago, she was doing the Lori Beachman. She was doing 8 shows a week. And I said, girl, I don't even know what her age was at the time, in the mid-50s. And I said, do one show. Yeah, for 500 people, because right now you have the energy for it, but you're not going to have that in 5 years. And the money's the same. And sure, there's going to be people. I wish I had it when it was more intimate and I could be 3 feet away from you. But fuck them, like unless they're willing to pay $200 a ticket, you got to expand, or you're just going to get exhausted. And so I think what I would love to see for Coco, that's what I'm going to say, is we find a way to get it so you do a couple big shows, you rake it in, but also 2 people get their Coco fix. And you also learn from that when all those people that are like, oh, I really wanted to see you, and then you do a show and they don't show up. I've learned. And I have this story about Cheetah that I love to tell occasionally. When I was with Cheetah, did a show with me on Fire Island, and we booked it for Pines Party weekend. And she and I were strolling through the Grove, and I was pretty close with Cheetah, and I just had a thing for her. And we were walking arm in arm through the Grove, and this young twink comes over and he goes, oh my God, you're Cheetah Rivera. And I was like, and she was like, yeah. And he goes, I saw you on the Tony Awards for The Kiss of the Spider Woman. I was 15 years old and I was coming out of the closet. I can't believe I'm meeting you. You changed my life. And she's like, oh my God, I'm on the island. Are you doing a show? And he goes, I can't. It's the Pints Party.
Oh, that is, you know what? I love that story. The fact that that happens to Cheetah Rivera, because I can't tell you how many times you know what's the worst?
I was like getting teary-eyed at that story.
When I have,
Meanwhile, the Pints Party starts at midnight.
Right.
Good to know the show.
I know. Well, I have had fans write me over and over and over, and I try so hard to engage everybody. And so I would write these people back. They'd ask for advice, and then my show is finally coming to their city, and they're so excited, and I'm literally looking for them after the show, and they don't show up.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so painful.
It was trivia night at the pub.
This one, my cat got sick.
Yeah, oh, fuck
and
off.
then so I was like, okay. And so I wrote him back, how's your cat? Turns out she was just being a drama queen. That's what he wrote. It's like, what?
Oh my God.
My favorite is
This is why people hate gay people.
you post about a show on Instagram or wherever, and then you get more people who write, oh, I wish I could come to the show.
Then
You mean about
actually-
6 months in advance, you're posting, or 3 months in advance. That you more people that are telling you they can't come to the show. And I'm like, I don't need to hear from you. If you aren't coming, to me, you're dead weight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're like, write something positive, like, oh my God, this looks amazing at least, but instead they're writing you that they can't make it.
That's one of my favorite things to do, is sit in a room with a bunch of drag queens, and we all tell these stories, and you feel it's somehow hearing everybody else's, horrible moments.
Schadenfreude, it's misery-loving
It is
company.
really healing.
Yeah, totally.
Because you feel less alone.
You know what? I have a theory that I often say the saddest people that I deal with in my business are the people who comment on Facebook ads, because they're not even directly to the person. They literally just comment on Facebook ads and they say nasty comments. And I told this to Taylor a couple weeks ago, and he almost fell out. I had an ad for Margaret Cho, went back right before COVID. I had a show with her in New Orleans.
Oh my God. Yes. I remember this.
And literally it's an ad that was going out all around Louisiana, and someone just wrote, fat chink.
Yeah, fat chick.
And I was like, and I wrote, and I shouldn't. I said, there's a really special kind of sad, fucked up person who feels the need to write that and to write that on an ad. Like, you know what I mean? It's just like the nastiest person.
It's like when Campbell's Soup had that gay commercial and people were like, disgusting.
Right,
And Campbell's was like, eat Progresso.
Exactly. Anyway, it is a dog eat dog world out there when it comes to being a performer. But you have
But
really,
I survived for 30 years, and I'm so grateful. You're talking about you being young and not, you couldn't imagine. I also feel that way. I mean, when I think back to my childhood and the sort of rejection after rejection, and just realizing I went to study theater in college, and then sort of realizing that, oh my God, I'm never going to be hired because I'm just too gay.
Right.
And I couldn't get rid of the New York accent.
Yeah.
And then I went to see Charles Busch and Julie Halston, A Lady in Question. And I saw Charles on stage in full drag, being so funny. I saw Julie Halston being so funny with this thick New York accent. And my world opens up, and I thought, this is my world. These are my people. And that along with going to that ACT UP meeting, along with discovering a book about Native American two-spirited people, and sort of realizing, oh, wow, I am this and that, not, And so...
it doesn't have to be or.
Yeah, and so that all came together, but and I would never have imagined where my life would take me. And sitting in a dressing room, sharing a dressing room with Cheetah Rivera, your friend, was one of those moments of, I cannot believe I'm sharing a dressing room, and we're giggling together.
She's the best.
Laughing.
She was the best.
She was, and she's borrowing my steamer, to steam her.
Yeah.
Well, she had someone else steaming, but
You're Rosie.
Rosie.
Yeah, Rosie was
Cheetah did her last show with us. Maybe
She did her
Coco
last
can do
show
her
with us.
last show with us. Maybe you can do the Coco farewell show.
But it's I will say this, for all of the trials and tribulations that we go through as gay people, one thing straight people are never going to have that feeling of, and I'm gonna get emotional saying it, but what you talked about just now, when you walk into a room at Charles Busch and Julie Halston and you see it and your world opens up, because you finally found your tribe. There's a beauty to that like they don't get because they've always had their tribe.
Right. They've had that privilege.
The sad part is there are a lot of us young gay kids that maybe now it's less so, but didn't get that. But now at least, like that feeling when I saw the things and you with Trick that we got to see that opened up the world to us. And then what a fucking great world we've had.
Right.
It's been tough. And
It's like I hate when people say booked and blessed, and it's like I fucking worked my ass through
Totally. But
a lot of horse shit to get there. There's no blessings. It's on my back.
And we're all alive. And I hate to say it, but like there are
We're missing a whole generation.
There's
baby.
a lot of gay men that didn't have that privilege, the incredible privilege to be here today. So anyway, I adore you. I'm so excited to see your show tonight. I'm sorry
I love that you got emotional because I often am the first one to start crying and I'm always embarrassed. So I love that kind of emotion because I do feel that way. I feel so lucky to have survived.
Yeah.
And I did those appearances in those hospitals, St. Vincent's back in the day, and saw horror.
Yeah.
And didn't even know how to process it back then. And in many ways would love to go back because I had friends dying, and I think, you know what? I wasn't mature enough to really be the friend I should have been to those men because of my own fears. I mean, there's so many things that we went through, and but the fact that we somehow were able to take all of that and still make magic and still create lives and still, could produce a party where people feel safe. And I could do a show where people could come and say, that was like group therapy and you being able to be your true self. That's kind of, it is magical. And I don't take it for granted.
Yes, well, we shouldn't. I often say that I feel very lucky that I was able to be there before answering machines and now to cell phones because I don't take it for granted. There's not an entitlement, but I also feel that about being gay, that I have a real gratefulness, gratitude for what the world is. I don't have that sense of entitlement like younger gay people might have because they think, oh, well, this is the way it's always been because it was kind of great that not that we saw people die of AIDS and it was incredibly difficult. But, I was definitely somewhat
it's hard
passable.
for people to understand when I tell people that there's almost an amazing thing in the knowledge you have and your perspective of the world. Like when I say, it was 1999 when I went to my last AIDS funeral. But there's something about getting through that has a beauty to it, that you don't take things for granted because you have the experience of that roughly walked road.
Well, and Fran Lebowitz said it really astutely when she said, we didn't just lose the great artists, a lot of them, through AIDS. We also lost a lot of people that were great appreciators. And that's how, and I added to that and said, that's why I think we went from being a creative class to a consumer class gay people. We don't really create culture anymore. We consume it a lot. Yeah. And I feel like the gay culture now is much more like, oh, I got to have this, I got to have that because someone else
six-pack.
Beyonce's in a room with 8 people creating a song, you know what I mean? And they're probably straight people in a computer. Gay people used to be doing that.
I do remember. I mean, I know we've got to wrap it up. But when reality TV first started, and I had friends that were very freaked out about it. And
I loved Pedro.
I said, listen, reality TV. The gay community, we're way beyond that. We're too sophisticated to fall for that kind of. We need more. Look at who we grew up with. The Lies of the Barber, the Bette Midler, the Barbara all those old movies. We're way too sophisticated to take on. And now look at us. But, we are consumers of so much of. But I think part of that is what Fran Lebowitz was referring to.
Well, we lost an entire generation of people who were taught
tastemakers
that also taught younger gay men how to appreciate. I remember my first gay date I ever went on was an older guy, and we went to a restaurant, and he asked me what kind of wine I wanted, and I said blueberry. Because my mother had drunk blueberry Boone's Farm wine. And I didn't know that wine didn't come in fruit flavors.
I don't see Bartle and James anywhere else.
And he was older, and he was definitely interested just getting in my pants. But, and he did because he
got you blueberry wine.
He got me blueberry wine. But he also introduced me to Ella Fitzgerald. And, and now I'm a huge Ella fan. So anyway, my point is it's just that what was my point? I don't know what it was.
You just wanted to talk about an older man getting in your pants.
Yeah, because they don't want it anymore because the rot set in. Anyway,
no, but I mean, we did lose a whole educating class. We lost a whole,
totally.
And
that's kind of what I've become now, where we have these young bartenders that work for us, and go-go boys and whatever. And I'm not going to be like, Johnny Danielle taught me that. Do not just be like, it was better back. I don't do any of that.
No, you can't do that.
They don't want to hear.
They don't want to hear it, and also it's not. Things change,
exactly,
and things evolve, and it's their world. I am not interested in being that kind of an older person who thinks it was better back in my day. I mean, maybe yes, some of it was, but you know what? The world is always evolving, and there were gays when I was young that were saying those things to me, and who would put down Madonna because she couldn't sing and she's terrible, and and they were talking about the Ellas and this and that. But for me, Madonna was so, like, what she's talking about sex. She showed two gay men kissing in her documentary. I never seen anything like that. And there was no. To me, it was amazing. She was amazing. And now sometimes when I listen back to her, I'm like, wow, she really couldn't. She wasn't
really
a singer.
She really couldn't.
She's not a singer, like in the way that those men were talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
But I didn't care, and so I realized there are young gay people that just don't want to hear me talking about like how things were better back in my day, and in many ways they weren't.
Yeah.
In many ways they
So,
were.
Many ways.
Yeah.
In many it's
ways
like Johnny Danielle
we
says, things weren't better. You were better.
Yes,
We
things weren't better.
romanticize it.
You were better. That's what people. Because people will say to me, when we took over the Ice Palace, I'll never forget. We were at a party, and this lesbian came up to me. She goes, I really hope that you can bring back. I remember on Tuesdays there'd be 1,000 people. Everything was just so much better back then. I said, honey, no, you were better back then.
Yeah.
If I opened the Ice Palace on a Tuesday with a DJ, you would never show up. Like. It's changed. It's like, it's just a different world, and we just have to accept it.
Yeah, I mean, you're always going to, hopefully, not a blanket statement, most people fondly remember their 20s and their 30s. And that's all that it is. It's like, oh, man, it was my trigger a couple episodes ago, and it was like, I hate when people are like, oh my God, I just moved to Berlin. I'm like, I moved to Berlin 15 years ago. You just missed it.
Yeah. Every place I've missed, every place I moved to, I just missed.
Exactly.
Yeah. But you know what? 15 years ago, I was fucking 30. Of course it was great.
Exactly. Which brings us to the end of the show.
I was winning the battle against gravity.
Where what we do here is we talk about something that triggers us. And for me this week, it's holding space, which is different than saying
a
we're
moment
on
of
Indian
silence
lands.
for the Lenape people.
I just can't stand that when people go, I just want to announce it. Here at a sex party.
Yeah, before we open the orgy up.
They say we just want to honor that we're on Lenape lands or whatever. It's like, that's so stupid. Holding space. There's this thing that happens in our culture where I first heard it on Delta Works podcast, and I thought it was a cute saying. I'm holding space for this. Now it's so ubiquitous and so fucking annoying that it's one of those things like Heroes that gets so bandied about that it doesn't matter anymore. So it's one of those things like, if something, stop using holding space. Just find another word for it. What does it even fucking mean? I'm holding space for something. I don't understand it. Like, stop saying. I'm getting more into, which is weird. I mean, I'm talking a lot on
it's
this.
It's basically white people announcing that they're keeping their mouth shut.
But yet not keeping their mouth shut. Which
I'd
is
like
what's
to
annoying
hold
about
space for all my bi and trans friends.
Exactly.
Shut
it's
up.
just one of those things. I mean, I know that I'm like, I tend to, what's the word called when you talk a lot?
Blabbermouth?
No, lugubrious. No, that's the word. There's a word. I can't remember. I was so ready to hit that button.
Ready? No, you don't get to touch that button. You couldn't come up with the fucking word.
I can't remember. I'm so good with words.
Blow hard.
Yeah, blow hard.
Thank you, Coco.
Lugubrious is when something. Anyway, I'm going to end it there. Stop with holding space. Come up with a new. Create something new instead of holding space. You know what I mean? So anyway, I'm tired of hearing it.
Other than people's dramatic cats, do you have a trigger?
That's such a trigger for you. We should probably hold space for you right now.
We're gonna. Coco and I would like to hold.
I have
space
so many
for you.
triggers. There's just not even enough time.
What's one that gets you right now?
Okay, for right now, last night we were having dinner here in the hotel.
God, the New York really just hit hard.
People at the next table started watching a video over and loudly. Then this morning we're having breakfast. Woman next to us starts watching a video very loudly. I don't want to hear your videos or your conversation on speakerphone.
Oh, God.
I have had to buy loop earplugs that I have with me 24/7.
So you can just stick them in.
So I can stick them in because my rage at people not being considerate. I grew up in the Bronx, and even though, people have an idea of New York City and people being rude, and we really, maybe because we grew up on top of each other, but also there was a respect of your neighbors and making sure they were okay.
Yeah.
And not, that was just drilled into me growing up. My parents were always on top of me about that kind of stuff. And the fact that nowadays people just don't seem to care about another person's experience. I'm paying to have dinner in the same space you are.
Right.
Respect that I'm having an experience. This is a public space. And so that's a, and part of the, doing shows now is a part of that, people just bringing out their phone and texting.
I just
during
went the
your
other
show.
night to see Tartuffe. Bianca's in Tartuffe in New York Theater Workshop, and I went to. Yeah, I know, right? Exactly. I went. Was it last? No, it wasn't last night. It was the night before last. I went, and I'll never forget. I'm sitting there at New York Theater Workshop, and it's really quiet, and all of a sudden I hear someone go, "Don't you dare!" And a woman had started to go like this with her phone, and this guy went, "Don't you dare!" And she just put her phone down in her lap, and I was about to clap for him.
I love that man.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Incredible. Which is one of the things, and I'll just add to that, when I'm at a dinner party and someone goes, "Oh, I got to show you this video," I immediately go, "This dinner party's over as far as I'm concerned."
you
Because the
just killed
minute
it.
when someone else is like, "Well, I got a video for you," and then all of a sudden we're all sitting there on a fucking
Watching
phone.
videos. No, I love having dinner parties for that reason. I actually had friends over for brunch. I've never held a brunch, but they wanted to go out for brunch. And I said, you know what? I just got back home. I'm feeling really vulnerable after being out there and having to deal with all the craziness of the world. I'm going to host it because I'm such a control freak. I thought, I can't be in a restaurant and hear the person next to me start playing a video or speaking on speakerphone. I need to control. And also that thing, if I'm in my house and someone breaks out the phone and wants to show me, no.
Yeah.
You're in my home. Like, I feel like I can say it there.
Exactly.
Yeah. So yeah.
It kills a dinner party.
Can
Anyway,
we hold space for me now?
Exactly.
Time to hold space for me now.
I cannot
Mine
wait
is-
tonight to show. When you're on stage, you're just going to see my phone go. I'm not going to videotape. I'm just going to hold my phone. I won't do that.
Mine is also cell phone related, but it's what I think you would appreciate it because it's what the people next to you should be doing. I hate when you get like 3 text messages from somebody, then they call you, you tap the side, you ignore the call, you're not taking it. They call you back again, you tap the side, you're not taking it. Then they write, "Can you talk?" Or "I need to talk to you." You better say, "Mom's dead, I'm bleeding." First of all, if you're bleeding out, call 911. If mom's dead, there's nothing I can do. She's not Lazarus. Like, I just hate when people don't recognize the barrier of my time's not yours.
And you
right
know,
now.
my addition to that is the 3 question marks. I'll kill you if you send me. If you
Are we
a phone-
meeting tonight? Question mark, question mark, question.
It's
Still
just
on
that
for
when
dinner?
people,
Question
like
mark,
a phone to
and
me, a
then
ringing
call.
phone is an invitation to answer. Doesn't mean I have to answer. Doesn't mean I have to answer your text. I haven't looked at my phone once since we've been in this this podcast. Like, and then they ask a question, and then they ask with 3 question marks, and I get like enraged. I think to myself, just wait.
Yeah.
None of this is that important.
Do you think it's
know?
because we all grew up pre-cell phone?
People think, yes, but I also think now people think that you are always available because you always have a phone on you. And for me, if I'm at dinner, my new thing now though is if I want to check my phone, I go to the bathroom. You just get up, go to the bathroom, check your phone. If you have to, check your phone in the bathroom, and you go back and you don't do it at the table.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh,
I agree.
And like, I'm sorry, if you get 2 rings and it goes to voicemail, we all know how a cell phone works.
Exactly.
It rings, it rings, it rings, it rings, it rings, it goes voicemail. The phone wasn't on me, didn't see it, didn't feel like answering it. Rings twice, goes to voicemail. I have sent you to voicemail.
Got it.
Don't call back. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a mistake.
Well,
I don't want to talk.
This was trigger warning. I can't wait to how Josh is going to cut together because we had like 20 minutes before. We
hobble
haven't
this
seen each
bitch.
other. We're building a project in Mexico, so we kind of
I
caught up at the
heard
beginning.
all about it.
That's so exciting.
Got a lot of boops.
we got a lot.
But we're going to sit front row tonight.
I'm so excited.
Good.
I'm so
on
excited.
my phone.
On my phone. No, literally.
I can't wait for you to hear all my Instagram reels.
I want you to be the 2 people in the audience who are going, "Don't you dare."
Totally. Actually, that's a really fun idea. We'll just walk around and I'll be like, yeah.
You have my permission.
Seriously, I love you.
I'll do
I know
it with the
we don't
flash
live on
on.
the same, we don't
You
live
know
on the
they
same coast, so I never really see you. But, I am a big fan of you,
Thank you.
as a person, really, as well. I watch you on social media. I just think you're really unique, incredible, interesting.
And you made my dreams come true being here. Thanks for the
So
interview.
thank you for doing
Thank
this.
you. And it's snowing out.
It's really snowing out there.
Oh my
It's really
God.
snowing out there. Look at that.
Oh,
That's movie snowing.
Yeah, that is like movie snowing.
wow. Maybe
This is
I will go
beautiful.
skiing. Maybe I will hit the
Now,
slopes.
we have an important phone call in
in an hour, girl.
Oh, okay. Great.
Fine.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Coco Peru.
I think she's, as you will hear in the podcast, she will be, the sun is setting on her illustrious 36-year career.
Yeah, can you believe that? 1990.
I can't actually, because, I mean, honestly, if she started when she got out of college, I mean, it's like Sweetie or anyone else. Sweetie was still alive, or all these queens. I guess so. It makes sense.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you get old. You look back and you go,
look back and you go, wow.
I've been doing it for 25 years. This is the sun is setting on my party career at exactly 25 years. 25 years, I think about quarter of a century. I have been handing out flyers saying, come to my party. The saddest thing I've ever heard.
What's crazy to me is that I've been doing it for 25 years as well, but like I started at 18. All these people went to school.
Right, exactly.
I was just that scrubby little kid on the streets.
Just handing out flyers. So anyway, that was great. And then tomorrow we leave, and then tomorrow night we go to the Dean Johnson documentary, which is really exciting.
I'm so excited for the Dean Johnson documentary.
It's called The Big Johnson. If you haven't seen it, I'm featured in it a little bit. And then tomorrow night I'm doing a talk back with Murray Hill, which is really exciting. And
it'll be nice to see Murray.
Yeah. It was. I got emotional in the podcast today that when we recorded with Coco Peru.
Yeah.
Why?
I think you got emotional because it was a really nice, self-fulfilling walk down memory lane. I think it was nice for you to realize that, you know, life isn't always rosy and wonderful, and that it's hard sometimes, and that these really incredible moments get to happen when you just put in the effort. Like, I think your tears were both like sad and joyful. Does that make sense?
Sure. I mean, I don't really remember. I remember it happening, and I remember talking to her, and I remember looking at her, and her eyes welled up with tears at the same moment. But I can't remember what precipitated it. Is that the right word, precipitated? I think so. Could you hit that button over there? It would precipitate. Thank you. That's the word. That's the word of the hour. Precipitated. Isn't precipitation rain? But is it also meaning something to lead up to? I don't know. Taylor, could you look that up? So anyway, folks, you are listening to us. We're here from Vermont, and next up is Jonathan Groff. We have Jonathan. I can't wait to talk to Jonathan Groff about how he has the distinction of being one of two of my friends that have rimmed someone in a television show.
Right.
Because Murray's had the famous rimming scene, and Jonathan has because I watched the Looking movie recently, and I thought, was that necessary? But I'm happy they had it.
It was gratuitous, but I enjoyed it.
It was great. Yeah.
It was good.
But yeah, so we have Jonathan Groff coming up. Anyway, this is our interview with Coco Peru. We hope you enjoy it. We love you. Thanks you so much for listening. We got a lot of great feedback from the Sherry Pie. Very little negative so far. I'm excited for the negative.
I love that. I'm excited for the negative as well.
I'm just
and like, subscribe, comment wherever you listen to your podcast. It only helps our stupid voices get further out into the universe.
And remember, we need your idea who the top 4 Broadway Mount Rushmore. When we paint Mount Rushmore this summer, a mural in the front of Red Eye, we want you guys to decide who the top living should be there.
Should it be 2 women and 2 men?
Nope. Don't mess it up.
Okay.
Don't mess up a good thing. 4 women.
4 women. Okay.
And then we'll do it with 4 men. We'll do the men. But right now, let's focus on one thing.
Men have had enough.
Focus on one thing, Magpie. Yeah, focus on one thing. All right, you guys, write it in the comments section and let me know, and then I'll do is put it together. But we want to know who you think are 4 top women in Broadway that are living.
I love our late night conversation.
All right, guys, thanks for listening. I'm off to bed.
Ciao, ciao.
Trigger Warning, hosted by Daniel Nardicio and Adam Meathammer Klesch, is a Pride House Media production and produced by Josh Rosenzweig. Please note the views reflected in this podcast do not represent the views of Red Eye, the Ice Palace, or any of its subsidiaries. And any reference to scat, shrimping, upper deckers, skanks, masturbating, rump riding, wolf bagging, Cleveland steamers, jiggly puffing, rusty trombones, Cosby sweaters, Mexican pancakes, and Alabama hot pockets are the views of Mr. Nardicio, Mr. Klesch, and his listeners, not the establishment. If you are offended, please seek immediate psychiatric attention.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And while you're there, leave us a rating and review. It really helps others discover the show. And if you didn't enjoy this episode, don't tell anyone.
Stay connected and join the conversation by following us on Trigger Warning Podcast.
And you can send us your questions or hate mail to triggered@triggerwarning.com.